the very interesting session of this workshop, which is Career as an Employment Lawyer. So, we all aim to bring this session to be a very interactive session. So, all of the participants can use the raise hand option, and we'll try to unmute them, and they can ask their questions. And alternatively, they can drop their questions in the chat box, and we'll read it out to ma'am. So, without further ado, I hand it over to you, ma'am.
Thanks a lot. And before we start with the Q&A or whatever we are planning to do, I actually wanted to mention, because some people ask me this often, that how can I develop an interest in the field of employment laws? Like, how did I develop that interest? So I want to tell everyone that when I was in law school, employment law was something that I did not even consider in my head, that this can be an area which I can pursue. And it's unfortunate because I think, and I'm not blaming NLIU here, but I think almost all law schools have this problem that they emphasize a lot on corporate law, and these, I would say, the non-niche areas, like the mainstream, field, so to say. So, like everyone, I was also interested in corporate law. I also wanted to, and I also developed an interest in insolvency law, because there was so much happening around us, in that area, that we were naturally inclined to know what is happening. And I read IBC as part of my internships. So then I did a moot with NLU Delhi, that NLU Delhi organized. So we did the first edition of that moot. So I think only two areas were in my consideration. One was corporate and the other was insolvency. And when I joined Khaitan, I was asked to give my preferences. So I had given corporate and insolvency as my preferences, and had also included securities law as part of that. And I ended up getting capital markets and securities. I worked in that field for 6 months, and I cannot tell you how much I hated it, because I had this perception that, oh, I will be researching a lot in this area. I'll be talking about insider trading and takeovers. These are such interesting areas. But no, every single day I was only working on diligences. And you may find diligences interesting, but after a point, sometimes, and for some people, it becomes, monotonous. And it happened with me. I was not opening my BEAR Act. I was not looking at the provisions of Companies Act. I was only following a precedent. In securities law, what do? You prepare those red herring prospectus for the public, right? And you publish that whenever you're going for an IPO. So we used to have this standard precedent that we had to follow in every single transaction. We had to look for registrations, licenses, if the company has valid license at a particular point in time or not. So, and then we used to check all those lender agreements. And oh my goodness, I can't tell you how, after a point, I just started hating it. And I was in such a desperate position at one point that, I just wanted to run away. And so I reached out to the HR team, and they said that, look, we haven't given you the option of rotation. We have given you this team as a permanent resource. So you have to work with this team. And there came a point when I had to tell them that, look, if you do not move me to any other team, I will quit. I'll put in my papers. And they obviously said that, no, I mean, you can't create that pressure on us. So we cannot help you in this. So I put in my papers. The funny thing is that I'd already told my partners that I'm quitting. And my partners in capital markets felt that this is unfair because, there's unfairness towards me, because, I cannot continue working in an area that I don't like, right? So they asked the HR that, can you please look into her request? And so they again asked for my preferences. This time I said anything but capital markets. and I also mentioned real estate and one or two areas. So this time it was the other way around. I said anything but one or two areas. So I hadn't thought of employment law at that point, that this is even a practice area. Otherwise, I definitely would have mentioned that also as an exclusion. But because I had specifically not mentioned it, they thought, okay, employment team needs a resource. Let's put her in that team. And I cried when I found out that I've got an employment team. I was like, oh my God, I'll have to work on those factory labor related problems, that trade union related issues. I'll have to actually go to those factories and all. I don't know, I mean, it could be anything, right? So I was very, very scared. And, but I took it with a pinch of salt and I was like, okay, no problem. Let's try this. I have nothing to lose. I have to anyway leave this firm. So I might as well complete another month in another team and then quit. So the idea was to quit only eventually, but just try out another team. So then I started working with the employment team, and it was such an amazing experience. Every matter is different. Uh, Unlike corporate law, unlike capital markets, it's an advisory practice. Transactional work is limited. Of course, we also help corporate teams with employment diligences. So, for example, with Air India acquisition, I mean, I'm sure you would have some idea about it. It's in the news all the time that they are trying to privatize it. So they are looking for bidders. So and they have a large, a workforce. They have pilots, they have crews. So employment is a very important part of that. How to deal with these employees, right? How to treat their benefits, the entitlements. So we are always engaged in all these diligences, but our core activities, okay, I'm using core activity now, but basically what I mean to say is that our principal principal area is advisory in nature, and we are, and like I said, because we are dealing with humans here, we are dealing with people issues. So every time the situation is different. So I think that is one area, one aspect because of which employment law is different from other areas of law. So if you do not like transactional work, if you really love research oriented work, then I think you would enjoy employment law a lot. And trust me, you would feel in the initial few days that it's a lot to understand, because you have we're not talking about competition law where there's just Competition Act and then some aspects of Companies Act also coming into picture. Here we are talking about numerous central and state laws, but trust me, the team also gives you time to understand. So it's not that on day one you would be expected to know every single law. You will be given time, and I can tell you, within 4 months, I was able to get a glimpse of all the important labor law statutes, how they work in practice. So yes, it's going to be a bit overwhelming in the initial few weeks, but once you get a hold of all these statutes, then it becomes really, really interesting. And I'll also share some experiences in the course of this session as to how employment law can be really interesting. For example, let's talk about POSH Act, right? So sexual harassment, anti-sexual harassment law is something where, I mean, almost every time we come across situations where there are even false complaints filed, the woman is threatening to resort to social media. How can a company, as an employer of this woman, handle this situation? Uh, how can they ensure confidentiality of proceedings, right? And when there are these threats being made, how do you deal with that situation? Sometimes the complaint is directly against the MD of the company. Then how do you deal with the situation? So we have to calm our clients and tell them that this is the step plan that you need to follow. So, and we have had these successful cases also where the client was able to handle the situation sensitively. So employment law is not just about legal provisions, it's also a lot about using soft skills, because you're dealing with employees and there are some agitations on employees' parts. You need to handle that carefully. You cannot even dismiss the employee's concerns saying that we are not going to entertain that. So you have to deal with situations very calmly and properly. So we prepare opinions taking into account those soft skills, taking into account best practices and the legal provisions, everything taken together. So every case that you get is different, and that's the fun part. And in fact, people think that employment law is just an ancillary subject area, but I have seen situations where huge transactions got affected because of employment issues. So there was one transaction where our client was Bharat Serums. I'm sure that by now everyone would be aware what Bharat Serum is. So Bharat Serum was our client, and on the other side there was this acquirer who wanted to have a stake in Bharat Serums. I cannot mention the name right now, but so the diligence was going on, and suddenly they realized that after the entire diligence is complete, they realized that there is this one area that has not been registered under Factories Act. And Bharat Serums, as a target company, had represented that they have all the licenses in place. So the acquirer said that you misrepresented us because this area is not registered anywhere under Factories Act or any other law. So you are misrepresenting us. We don't want to take this transaction forward. And I mean, of course, there was a lot of argument happening. So this area was basically a horse farm. Okay. So what happens in a horse farm? There is obviously a huge vacant area where these horses are bred, and then there is a small area beside horse farm where plasma extraction takes place. So basically, plasma from the horse's blood is taken out and it is sent to the factory of Bharat Serums, where this blood is used to prepare to manufacture vaccines. So the vaccines we are aware of, those have horse's plasma, okay, which was basically extracted at that plasma extraction center. So what Bharat Serums did is that it did not register that plasma extraction, center under Factories Act. And their contention. So okay, I'll come to the contention later. But basically, they hadn't registered that center under Factories Act. So we had to obviously build a case for Bharat Serums. We had to show that everything is in order. There was no wrongdoing on the part of Bharat Serums. So we researched a lot on Factories Act, and we built this entire case for them, saying that, look, this plasma extraction center is very much a part of the factory where vaccine is being manufactured. So it's functionally integral to that factory. It's essentially a part of that factory, even though it's located several kilometers away, but it's actually so intricately connected with this factory that if this factory doesn't exist, that plasma extraction has no value on its own. So it's basically a part of that factory, and the factory already has a factory's license, right? So this plasma extraction center does not require a separate license. So we kind of built that case. We researched a lot and tried to basically show that the two parts to two units are actually one, and so no separate license was required. When we built that case, the acquirer was convinced. They said, okay, let's go ahead with the transaction. And yes, we concluded that transaction. It was reported everywhere. It was one of the most successful deals on the part of Khaitan. So yes, I think this is just an example. Of course, there were several other issues with that diligence. But again, sometimes workforce-related issues become paramount in such transactions. So to say that employment law is an insignificant area of practice is incorrect. And we are not just dealing with factory workers, we are dealing with even managerial level employees. How to regulate and structure a managing director's salary, because you have to show that it's proportionate. Proportionately, it's not a disproportionate salary that you're giving to one or two of your key employees. So we have that structuring part is there. We also deal with ESOPs. Then we also deal with situations like persons with disabilities, how to manage their case. Because sometimes when a person with disability is removed from services, they start bringing this case before the court that I was terminated, my services were terminated because I was a person with disability. But at that point, we basically help the client in, having adequate paper trail to show that this person was actually not performing well, even after giving numerous feedbacks to him, even after assigning him to a role where his disability doesn't come into picture. So the company did everything at its end, and still this employee did not wish to work hard, and that is why his services were terminated. Then there were cases where the person said that I have a heart ailment, and so I should be considered as a person with disability. So we had argued that no, heart ailment is not disability. Again, using case law. So it's a lot of research oriented job, and even for that, what I mentioned in the last session, whether a woman's home can be considered as a workplace under POSH Act. Again, we had to resort to case law and advise our clients appropriately. So it's very, very research intensive field, and I'm sure if anyone is interested in research work, they would find it very interesting. So this is like the broad overview. I can tell you separately what all things we actually deal with, but this is the broad overview, and you can ask me questions related to my area of practice.
So Swati Singh has a question. She asks, as a law student, how should one prepare to later back a job in the employment area in the law firm? I mean, not everyone is as lucky wherein a partner will directly ask what area would you like to work as you.
So I think one thing that I can tell you now, because I'm an associate, is that even the HR, when it assigns a practice area to you, maybe every time it may not be accommodating your interest, but it definitely takes into account the work that you have mentioned on your CV. So if you want to intern with an employment team very specifically, then somewhere you will have to show that interest. You can't just tell, in your cover email that you are interested in employment law without showing anything on your CV. I mean, I'm not talking about a person who is in their first year, but for a third year student, for example, they will have to show somewhere. So how do they do that? If there aren't any other internships, you have to show that interest through research papers, through even blogs for that matter. People underestimate blogs, but if you are publishing your blog in a reputed publication platform, and in India, we do not have a lot of good blogging platforms. But if, and that's why I always recommend that, okay, after publishing one or two blogs with India Corp Law or even with my blog, I mean, you can also go for some international platforms. Okay, so all these colleges, whether you talk about London School of Economics, whether you talk about Columbia, all these institutes have blogs for each area of study. So they have dedicated employment related blogs also. So you can get your articles published there. So just keep on reading whatever articles are being published by the associates of the law firms. First, identify which law firms have employment law as a practice area. Very few law firms in India have a dedicated practice. The best one so far is Trilegal. Trilegal's Bangalore team is considered as the oldest and the best law firm in this area, followed by Khaitan, Nishit Desai, Indus. These 4-5 teams, the 4-5 law firms have dedicated employment practices, and they keep on publishing articles on emerging issues. So you follow their pages, you follow their publications page on their website, and see what all topics they are covering. And that will help you in deciding, okay, these are the emerging issues. For example, they may have talked about the Supreme Court decision of the UK, which basically says that gig workers are employees of the organization that is engaging them. So you know that, okay, this is an important issue, which is why these lawyers are talking about it. And so probably I can write something on it. So then you start building your own, research around it and get it published. And these are topics which you can get published anywhere. These need not be India specific journals. So do that, because I think publications is the only thing you can do. You do not have moot court competitions around employment law, which is very unfortunate. In fact, I have proposed this to my partner that probably Khaitan can start something in this area, but there are a lot of approvals pending. But yeah, this publications thing is one through which you can establish some interest in this area.
So I think all kind of internships, publications, and what all needs to be done is answered. So, ma'am, there's a question from Hardik Bansal. He asks that he needs your advice that would it be a good idea to move from an HR manager profile after 15 years to an employment lawyer role?
So I think it's very tough to do that because being an HR manager and being an employment lawyer are two totally different things. With an HR manager, you have to deal with employee related issues which are very specific to your organization. So if I'm talking about a food services industry, for example, you are HR manager at Swiggy. So then whatever issues the employees of Swiggy are facing, you will be used to dealing with those situations. But you need not have experience with other kinds of employment issues. For example, you may not have experience with ESOP related matters, right? And MD related problems. I mean, the senior executives, their remuneration, you may not be dealing with that because your focus is towards employees at the lower rungs of the establishment, right? Then again, because you're working in a food services industry, you may not be experienced with in other industries which are there. For example, in my case right now, I'm advising a company which is in mining sector, a company I mean, I'm advising Cadbury at the moment, which is a totally different area. Then I'm also advising Tata Consultancy Services, which is, like, it's totally, it's service driven. So you should have experience in all these areas, and of course on the employment, on the legal side. So it would be difficult. I don't think that law firms even allow that opportunity to HR managers to become an a partner or a principal associate after having that experience. So yeah, it's going to be difficult for sure.
So, ma'am, I had a question that what particular skill set your firm looks for when we apply for an internship in the employment law team?
See, I think the most important skill set is your research skills, your research and drafting skills, because, like I said, in every case that we get, we have to look for case law. We cannot survive without case law. Abhi, right now, even in my laptop, there's one tab of Manupatra opened, and you won't find that with a corporate lawyer because they hardly look for cases for anything, right? But for us, case law research is important. So you need to have amazing research skills because there are times when you get a very narrow timeline from the client and you need to look for case on a very specific issue. So, for example, there was one case where this person was removed from the services on the ground of misconduct. Why? Because he was accused of murder. He was not proven to be a murderer. He was not convicted. He was only accused of murder, and uh, and basically the employer removed him from services on the ground of misconduct. Misconduct has to be proven. How can you, I mean, when there are only accusations against a person, how can you say that there is any misconduct on the person's part? So in that situation, and a case was filed by the employee saying that it's unlawful termination, and we had to look for cases. I mean, we knew that this is clearly a case against the employer. We cannot really help our client on the substantive part, but one place where we can help our client is on the relief side. In unlawful termination cases, there are two kinds of remedies. One is reinstatement in services. So if an employee has been unlawfully, his services are terminated, then one remedy, which is the most common remedy that the court will give, is put him back to services, right? And the other remedy is regarding compensation, which is very, very rarely given. So we tried to look for cases, and we had only 3 hours of time, and we had to look for cases where courts have said that where the reputation of the employer is at stake. In those situations, probably the appropriate remedy would not be reinstatement, it would be compensation. So in this case also, even though the person was only accused, there is a possibility in the future that this person is convicted, right? And so the reputation of the organization is at stake. They may not be comfortable, re-employing this person. So we looked for those cases, and luckily we found one case of Calcutta High Court where a very similar situation had existed, and they basically granted the relief of compensation to the employee as opposed to reinstatement. So we had only 3 hours of time. So you need to be absolutely great with your research skills. What all keywords you need to look, insert whenever you are using any research database, Manupatra, SSC Online, whatever. So research skills are very important. And of course, whenever you're sitting for an interview, you need to know what is happening. For example, if at this juncture you are looking for an internship in an employment team, the most common question that is going to posed to you is, do you have any idea about the labor codes? Do you have any idea about the broad changes that are happening vis-a-vis the existing regime? And if you do not have an answer to that, I mean, then you know where your application is headed, right? So at least look for the developments that have happened in the past 1 year in the field of employment law. And it's very easy to find those developments. Again, like I said, go to the publications pages, even Mondag for that matter. All our articles which are published on our website are automatically published by Mondag also. We have an arrangement with them. So each of our articles also get published there. So even if you just go to Mondag and look for, recent employment law articles, you will get a sense of what are the recent developments. So that is one way in which you can prepare for an interview.
Devansh, do you have any further questions? Okay.
Yes. And ma'am, as I am a third-year law student, so I would like to know, as the labor laws is not a subject being taught in the curriculum as of now. So how
Yeah.
can we build our basic understanding in the labor laws? Any suggested readings or some material which can be available easily for reading and conceptual understanding?
So, good question. Unfortunately, because we don't have a lot of law firms dealing in this subject area, so the reading material is also limited. Uh, I think only one law firm does a commendable job with, covering the basics of any law, and that is Nishit Desai. It's funny that I'm talking about these different law firms when I belong to a particular law firm, but yeah, I think on this aspect, this just providing an overview of labor laws, I think you can check out the reading material that has been published by Nishit Desai. I'm not sure if it's there on their website. I can share it with you because I have that, because when I had joined the employment team, that was the first document that I'd read. And from that, I came to know, okay, these are the subject areas that are there under employment law. And then I started, working upon it. So that would be a starting point. But other than that, just what you can do is, yeah, I mean, those basics can be covered from there. And like I said, for recent developments, one thing is just checking out these publication pages. Another thing which I do, and through which I always keep myself updated, is I set Google alerts for important terms relating to employment law. So if you set Google alerts on employment, employee, labor, factories, you use these commonly used terms, you set Google alerts for these. So as and when an important development happens and it is being reported anywhere, it will reach your inbox. So you immediately get to know, okay, this is happening. So that is also one way in which you can stay updated with what is happening. And yeah, but yes, to answer your question, unfortunately, we do not have a lot of reading material online.
Ma'am, I have a question. So like as you know, like the interest.
So another reading material that you can consider is Institute of Company Secretaries of India. They for their executive level courses, they have their material freely available. That is also one place from where I got to know about employment laws. They have a proper book, entire book on employment laws. So it can also be a good starting point for you. So Nishit Desai and ICSI's reading material would be helpful. Yes, Ishan, please continue.
Yeah. So we all know that the interest areas keeps changing as we keep reading more about different laws. So we all know how the campus placements run, like there's a proper setup there. However, if our interest area changes after we complete our law school, can you please run us through the application process? Like how do we apply in different law firms and what is the application process there?
So are we talking about the situation where we have applied for internships, or are you talking about placements? What is the stage we are looking at?
Placements.
Okay, so when you have sat for placements, and at that point you may have indicated that you are interested in corporate, but later on it turns out that maybe it's not that interesting. Maybe you can try competition law or any other field. So at that point, because if you have already received an offer from the firm, one way is that you reach out to the firm, tell them that maybe this is not the area where you would want to pursue a career in. Whatever you do it very quickly, because very quickly, as in if you have been placed in your 4th year, you will have time, you will have 5th year with you. And this team allocation is done somewhere when you will be in your 5th year. So in that particular year, this team allocation is done. Obviously, it's communicated to you at a very later point in time when you're just about to join the firm. So joining happens in July. You will get to know about your team and the place in the month of June. So it's very unfortunate they do not give you a lot of time. But yes, the team allocation already happens. Like for example, we had conducted some PPO interviews in 2019, and one person had indicated her interest in employment law. She got through, she got a PPO, and later on, and I think within a period of 4-5 months, she was assigned to employment team. So it's basically a very narrow period. Team allocation completes within that period, but you can still make a request even after joining. Unfortunately, a lot of law firms have done away with rotation. I think that it's a wonderful concept, but firms think that it's a waste of time for them just to invest in someone, and they turn out, to be interested in some other field of law. So each team sees it as a hassle for them, but it's actually very useful. But even if it has been done away with, you can always make a request to the HR. Do not resort to what I did, which is telling that I'm quitting. So that's the last resort. I had to do that because I was left with no option. But yes, you can always make a request and move to another team. You can ask them that you would want to be assessed for 1 or 2 months, and if the other team likes your work, then they may give you a permanent position there. So that option is always available.
I think we are done with all the questions. There are no hands raised. So, do you want to conclude or you want to add something to this session, ma'am?
Again, first of all, I want to thank you for coming up with this workshop. Very few law schools have a dedicated center for labor laws. Some of these was set up only in last year when employment-related issues came to the forefront. And even there, you have very few law firms, I think, which really took the initiative of helping migrant labor. You guys were one of them. So you're doing a commendable job. I have to begin with that. I'm so proud of what you guys are doing, because while there are other committees as well, I don't think that they are making that significant impact to the people at large, which you guys are doing. So it's amazing. And on this particular front, this entire discussion about career opportunities and employment law, this is something which you can even discuss offline with me. I'll always be there to help you guys. So you don't have to wait for a session to be conducted for this. I mean, I'm sure Ishan and other people who have known me for a while now, they can say that I am decently approachable. I never say no to any junior who reaches out to me. So, and I still follow the same approach, even though my schedule has obviously become very, very difficult. But I do make it a point to respond to everyone. So you can share my phone number. You can also share my email address, and you can reach out to me whenever.
Thank you so much, ma'am. This is really flattering coming from you. These kind words really keeps us motivated to do some good work. So thank you so much for sharing such interesting concepts and insightful ideas about the laws. This kind of information is really not available on any of the websites, even the best of them, especially because of the niche area like the employment law. I'm sure that this leaves all the participants with curiosity and interest to explore this area further. So I would, on behalf of the entire cell, I would like to thank you for sharing these concepts, especially on this weekend. We all know how important a weekend is for you. So I would also like to take this opportunity to thank all the participants for showing in such good numbers and making this workshop a huge success. Thank you so much. CLL will be back with such more initiatives. Thank you so much, Diksha ma'am. All the best for all your future endeavors.
Thank
Thank you so
you.
much.
Have a nice day. Bye-bye.
Have a nice day, ma'am. Thank you so much.
Bye-bye.
Thank you, ma'am.
Thank you. Bye-bye.
Bye, ma'am.